Welcome back to ZE Coins. Today's story is not just about a small piece of metal, but about history, mystery, craftsmanship, and the unexpected journey of a humble American penny. This video dives deep into the fascinating world of the United States of America 1977 D Mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent coin, a piece that many overlook, yet few truly understand. Stay with me, because by the end of this story, you may never look at an ordinary penny the same way again. A glimpse into America in the late 1970s. The year 1977 was a unique moment in American history. The country was navigating cultural change, economic shifts, and a renewed sense of identity after a turbulent decade. Music, fashion, and technology were evolving rapidly, and so was the nation's currency. Coins minted during this era were not just tools for trade, but silent witnesses to the daily lives of millions of Americans. Every penny produced carried with it the spirit of the time, reflecting both tradition and transition. The Lincoln 1-cent coin had already become a symbol of stability and continuity in American coinage. Featuring the iconic image of President Abraham Lincoln, it represented unity, perseverance, and national pride. By 1977, this design had been familiar for decades, yet each year's minting carried subtle distinctions that today help collectors identify, study, and admire them. Understanding the D Mint Mark. One of the most important details on this particular penny is the small letter D. This tiny mark tells a big story. It signifies that the coin was produced at the Denver Mint, a facility known for its high production numbers and consistent quality. The Denver Mint played a crucial role in supplying circulating coinage to a growing nation, especially during periods of heavy demand. For collectors, the mint mark is more than a letter. It is a clue, a fingerprint, and a connection to a specific place and time. A 1977 penny with a D Mint mark instantly links the coin to Denver, Colorado, where skilled workers and powerful machines struck millions of coins that would spread across the country. Each strike was meant to be identical, yet time, handling, and chance ensured that no two coins lived exactly the same life. Design and artistic details. At first glance, the 1977 D Lincoln penny may look simple, but a closer look reveals thoughtful artistry. On the front, Abraham Lincoln's profile stands firm and dignified, a tribute to one of the most respected figures in American history. The expression, the contours of the face, and the fine lines of the design reflect decades of refinement. On the reverse side, the familiar Lincoln Memorial appears, symbolizing respect, remembrance, and national heritage. The balance of text and imagery creates a sense of order and purpose. Even though the design was mass-produced, it still required precision and care. Small details, such as the clarity of letters and the sharpness of lines, are what collectors look for today when evaluating condition and desirability. The materials and minting process. During this era, pennies were made primarily from copper-based alloys. This gave them their warm tone and satisfying weight. The metal choice was practical, durable, and visually appealing. At the Denver Mint, blank coin discs were carefully prepared, cleaned, and fed into presses that struck each design with tremendous force. The minting process was fast and efficient, yet it was not immune to variation. Slight differences in pressure, alignment, or wear of the dies could result in coins with unique characteristics. These subtle variations are part of what makes coin collecting so engaging. Each penny carries microscopic clues about how and when it was made, why collectors pay attention. You might wonder why a penny from 1977 would attract interest at all. The answer lies in the combination of history, condition, and rarity within commonality. While many of these coins were produced, only a limited number survive today in exceptional condition. Coins that avoided heavy circulation, damage, or environmental exposure can appear remarkably fresh decades later. Collectors value stories as much as objects. A well-preserved 1977 D penny tells a story of careful handling, chance survival, or perhaps deliberate saving by someone who sensed its future appeal. Over time, interest in specific years and mint marks grows as collectors seek to complete sets or focus on particular themes, errors, variations, and curiosity. Another layer of fascination comes from mint errors and variations. Occasionally, pennies left the mint with slight imperfections such as double details, off-center strikes, or unusual textures. These errors were never intentional, yet they add intrigue and individuality. For collectors, discovering an unusual detail can feel like uncovering a secret. It transforms a common coin into a conversation piece and a research subject. Even without dramatic errors, minor variations in strike quality or color can influence how a coin is perceived and appreciated. The emotional side of coin collecting. Beyond technical details, coin collecting is deeply emotional. Many people first encounter pennies in childhood, sorting them from jars, pockets, or change trays. A 1977 penny might remind someone of a specific era, a family member, or a moment in time. Coins act as tangible memories. They connect generations and spark curiosity about the past. Holding a coin that has traveled through decades can feel like holding history itself. This emotional connection often drives collectors just as much as rarity or condition. Market interest and long-term appeal. Interest in American coinage continues to grow as more people seek physical connections to history. The Lincoln penny, in particular, remains one of the most recognized and collected coins in the world. Its accessibility makes it an entry point for beginners, while its depth keeps experienced collectors engaged. The 1977 mint mark penny stands as a representative of its era. It reflects the industrial capability of the United States, the cultural importance of Lincoln, and the everyday nature of money that quietly shapes daily life. Over time, coins like this gain attention not because they were flashy, but because they endured. Closing thoughts and final worth. As we come to the end of this journey, remember that the true value of a coin is not only measured in money. It is found in history, craftsmanship, survival, and the stories it carries. The United States of America 1977 mint mark Lincoln 1-cent coin may seem ordinary at first glance, but when viewed through the eyes of a collector, it becomes something much more meaningful. Story is about the United States of America 1981 mint mark 1-cent Lincoln penny, a coin that represents far more than its face value. This is not just a penny. This is a time capsule, a symbol of a nation, and for collectors, a coin that can spark excitement, curiosity, and passion. In this video, we will journey deep into the background, design, minting process, and collector fascination surrounding the 1981 Lincoln cent. Stay with me until the end, because the final reveal may surprise you and change the way you look at pennies forever. The legacy of the Lincoln PNN. Why the Lincoln cent is one of the most iconic coins ever produced by the United States. First introduced in 1909, it was the first American coin to feature a real historical figure. Abraham Lincoln was chosen to honor his 100th birthday, and his presence on the penny forever changed American coinage. By the time 1981 arrived, the Lincoln penny had already become a familiar part of daily life for generations of Americans. In 1981, the United States was experiencing change. Economically, politically, and culturally, the nation was moving forward while still holding on to tradition. The Lincoln penny symbolized that balance perfectly. It remained consistent in design while the world around it evolved. The familiar profile of Lincoln reminded Americans of unity, perseverance, and history. The design details that matter. The 1981 Lincoln cent carries the classic obverse design created by Victor David Brenner. Lincoln's portrait faces right, strong yet calm, dignified yet approachable. The word liberty appears to the left, while the phrase "In God We Trust" arches above his head. The year 1981 is placed neatly to the right, anchoring the coin firmly in its time. On the reverse side, the Lincoln Memorial stands tall and proud. This design, introduced in 1959, was revolutionary because it allowed Lincoln to appear on both sides of the coin. If you look closely, you can even see a tiny statue of Lincoln seated inside the memorial. This detail alone makes the design remarkable, showing how much thought and artistry went into such a small object. The importance of the mint mark. One of the most fascinating aspects of the 1981 penny is its mint mark. Mint marks tell us where a coin was produced, and each mint had its own characteristics. In 1981, pennies were struck at multiple locations, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each mint used different equipment, techniques, and quality controls, which means no two pennies are exactly alike. collectors pay close attention to mint marks because they influence rarity and desirability. Even small differences in striking pressure, metal composition, or alignment can create variations that make certain coins stand out. This is where the ordinary penny begins its transformation into something extraordinary. The metal composition STRY. The early 1980s were a turning point for the penny's composition. Rising copper prices forced the United States Mint to rethink how pennies were made. In 1981, pennies were still primarily composed of copper, giving them that rich, warm tone collectors love. However, the shift toward copper-plated zinc was already on the horizon. This transitional period adds another layer of intrigue to the 1981 Lincoln cent coins. From this era represent the end of an age. They are among the last pennies to carry a heavier copper content, connecting them to decades of earlier American coinage. For collectors, this makes them especially meaningful. Why collectors care about condition. When it comes to coin collecting, condition is everything. A 1981 Lincoln penny that has been heavily circulated may look dull, scratched, or worn. But one that has been carefully preserved can appear almost flawless, with sharp details and original luster. High-grade examples are the ones that capture collector attention. These coins may have never entered circulation or were handled with exceptional care. The surfaces remain clean, the edges crisp, and Lincoln's portrait sharp. In such cases, the coin becomes more than spare change. It becomes a prized artifact. Errors and varieties that spark excitement. One of the most thrilling aspects of coin collecting is the possibility of errors and varieties. These occur when something unusual happens during the minting process. It could be a misaligned die, a double strike, or subtle differences in lettering or spacing. The 1981 Lincoln cent is no exception. Certain examples show fascinating variations that collectors actively seek. These coins tell a story of human and mechanical imperfection, frozen in metal. Each error or variety is unique, making the coin feel personal and rare. The emotional connection beyond metal and mint marks, pennies hold emotional value. They remind people of childhood coin jars, first purchases, and everyday moments. A 1981 penny may have been in someone's pocket during historic events or quiet personal milestones. Coins travel silently through time, witnessing lives unfold. For collectors, owning a special penny is about more than money. It's about preserving history, appreciating craftsmanship, and feeling connected to the past. The 1981 Lincoln cent represents all of that in a single, humble coin. The market and collector demand. Over the years, interest in Lincoln pennies has continued to grow. As fewer high-quality examples remain available, demand increases. Collectors search tirelessly for coins that stand out, whether due to condition, rarity, or unique characteristics. The 1981 mint mark Lincoln penny has gained attention because it sits at a crossroads in U.S. coinage history. It reflects tradition while hinting at change. This balance makes it especially appealing to both new collectors and seasoned numismatists. Final thoughts on a remarkable 1 cent coin in the United States of America. 1981 mint mark 1 cent Lincoln penny may seem small, but its story is vast. It carries the legacy of Abraham Lincoln, the artistry of American design, the evolution of metal composition, and the passion of collectors who see value beyond face worth. We are diving deep into one of the most talked about modern-era coins among collectors, the United States of America 1984 mint mark 1 cent Lincoln penny. This video is not just about a coin, it is about curiosity, patience, history, and the thrill of discovery that keeps coin collectors searching year after year. Background of the Lincoln 1 cent. The Lincoln 1 cent is one of the most iconic coins ever produced by the United States. First introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln, it was the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical person rather than a symbolic figure. By the time 1984 arrived, the Lincoln penny had already become a daily companion for Americans, passing through millions of hands, pockets, registers, and collections. In 1984, the design still featured Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, originally created by Victor David Brenner. His dignified profile, calm yet powerful, symbolized unity, leadership, and endurance. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial stood proudly, representing national heritage and remembrance. These design elements may seem familiar, but familiarity is exactly what makes rare variations and mint-related details so exciting. Understanding the 1984 mint mark penny. The year 1984 was part of a transitional period in U.S. coinage. Changes in metal composition had already taken place earlier in the decade, shifting from mostly copper to copper-plated zinc cores. This shift created subtle differences in weight, strike quality, and long-term preservation. Mint marks, which indicate where a coin was produced, became especially important for collectors looking for standout examples. Each mint had its own characteristics. Differences in pressure, die condition, and production speed could lead to coins that look nearly identical at first glance but are dramatically different under magnification. For the 1984 1 cent, collectors pay close attention to strike sharpness, lettering clarity, surface texture, and overall condition. Why collectors care about 1984 pennies? At first, many people assume that modern pennies have little to no value. After all, billions were produced, and most are still circulating. However, serious collectors know that value is not only about age. It is about condition, rarity within a category, minting anomalies, and demand. The 1984 mint mark 1 cent has gained attention because certain examples stand out far above the rest. Coins that avoided circulation, retained original luster, and were struck with exceptional precision are far scarcer than the raw mintage numbers suggest. Time, handling, and environment have destroyed or damaged countless coins, leaving pristine survivors increasingly rare. The role of condition and preservation. Condition is everything in coin collecting. Two pennies from the same year and mint can have vastly different worth based solely on how well they were preserved. Scratches, discoloration, wear on Lincoln's cheek or jawline, and softness in the lettering can all reduce desirability. High-grade examples show sharp details in Lincoln's hair, crisp lettering in the words, "In God We Trust," and clean fields with minimal marks. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial's columns should be distinct, and the overall surface should display a pleasing, original shine. These qualities are not common, especially for coins over 4 decades old. Collectors often rely on professional grading services to evaluate these details. A coin that appears ordinary to an untrained eye can reveal exceptional quality under professional examination. This is one reason why the 1984 mint mark penny continues to generate excitement, minting errors, and collector fascination. Another major reason this coin attracts attention is the possibility of minting irregularities. While not every 1984 penny has an error, collectors remain fascinated by the year because of how minting conditions at the time created opportunities for unusual results. Errors such as double details, misaligned strikes, or planchet issues turn ordinary cents into conversation pieces. These anomalies tell a story of the fast-paced, industrial nature of coin production and remind us that even modern technology is not perfect. Each error coin is a frozen moment in time, capturing a split second when something unexpected happened at the mint. Historical context of 1984 America. The year 1984 itself carries cultural and historical weight. America was in a period of economic change, technological growth, and global influence. Coins minted during this time quietly witnessed everyday life, people buying groceries, children receiving allowances, families saving spare change in jars. The 1984 Lincoln penny traveled through this world unnoticed, yet it absorbed history simply by existing within it. Today, collectors look back and see more than a coin. They see a symbol of an era, preserved in metal. Why this coin still matters today in a world increasingly dominated by digital transactions, physical coins are becoming less central to daily life. This shift has sparked renewed interest in tangible money, especially coins that represent shared history. The 1984 mint mark 1 cent stands at the crossroads between old and new, traditional copper coins and modern plated compositions. Collectors, investors, and history enthusiasts are drawn to coins like this because they are accessible yet meaningful. You do not need to be wealthy to appreciate them, but knowledge and patience can unlock surprising rewards. The thrill of the search. One of the most exciting aspects of the 1984 penny is that it can still be found. Unlike ancient coins locked away in museums, this cent might still be hiding in collections, rolls, or inherited jars of change. The idea that something small and overlooked could carry significant worth fuels the passion of collectors worldwide. Searching through coins becomes more than a hobby, it becomes a treasure hunt. Every penny examined is a chance to discover something special, something others may have missed. Long-term value and collector demand. As time passes, the number of high-quality 1984 mint mark pennies continues to decline. Coins are lost, damaged, or forgotten. Meanwhile, interest in U.S. coinage grows, especially among new collectors entering the hobby. This imbalance between supply and demand strengthens the position of standout examples. Collectors understand that value is shaped not just by metal, but by story, rarity, and condition. The 1984 Lincoln penny embodies all three when found in exceptional form. Final thoughts and worth. The United States of America 1984 mint mark 1 cent Lincoln penny is a powerful reminder that even the smallest objects can hold immense significance. It represents history, craftsmanship, and the enduring fascination with American coinage. Whether you are a seasoned collector or someone just beginning to explore the world of coins, this penny invites you to look closer, learn more, and appreciate the hidden stories around you. Story is about one such coin, the United States of America 1990 D mint mark 1 cent Lincoln penny. This is not just a penny. It is a witness to a changing nation, a symbol of everyday life, and for some, a surprisingly meaningful collectible. To truly appreciate the 1990 D Lincoln cent, we must travel back in time. The year 1990 stood at the crossroads of two decades. America was stepping out of the bold, flashy 1980s and into a new era filled with technological promise and global change. The Cold War was nearing its end, personal computers were becoming more common in homes, and the economy was slowly reshaping itself for the modern age. Coins minted during this period quietly reflect that transition. They were made for daily use, yet they carry the unmistakable fingerprint of their time. The Lincoln penny has been part of American life since 1909, created to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. By 1990, his familiar profile had already been seen by generations. His calm, thoughtful expression on the obverse side connects the past to the present. Every 1990 D penny carries that same dignified portrait, reminding us of leadership, unity, and resilience. It is remarkable how such a small object can represent ideals that help shape a nation. The small letter D beneath the date tells a powerful story. It stands for the Denver Mint, one of the most important coin-producing facilities in the United States. The Denver Mint has a reputation for efficiency, high output, and consistent quality. In 1990, millions upon millions of pennies rolled out of Denver, destined for pockets, registers, and piggy banks across the country. Yet within that massive production, certain coins would later stand out to collectors who pay attention to detail, preservation, and subtle variations. At first glance, the design of the 1990 D Lincoln cent seems simple. On the front, Lincoln's portrait faces right, with the words, "In God We Trust," above his head and "Liberty" to the left. The date sits to the right, accompanied by the Denver Mint mark. On the reverse side, the Lincoln Memorial dominates the center, a design introduced in 1959. Look closely, and you can even see a tiny statue of Lincoln seated inside the memorial. These fine details are part of what collectors admire, especially when the coin is well preserved. One fascinating aspect of the 1990 penny is what it is made of. By this time, pennies were no longer mostly copper. Rising metal costs had forced the United States Mint to change composition in the early 1980s. The 1990 D cent consists primarily of zinc with a thin copper plating. This shift reflects economic realities and industrial decisions, making the coin a physical record of how global prices and resources influenced everyday objects. When the 1990 D penny first entered circulation, it was meant to be spent, not saved. It bought almost nothing on its own, but combined with others, it kept commerce moving. Over time, however, many of these coins disappeared into collections. Some were pulled aside because of their shine, others because they were part of complete date and mint sets. What once passed unnoticed began to gain attention as collectors realized the importance of condition, rarity within grades, and historical context. In the world of coin collecting, condition can mean the difference between ordinary and desirable. A heavily circulated 1990 D penny tells a story of use, scratches, wear, and fading from years of handling. On the other hand, a coin preserved in exceptional condition, with original luster and sharp details, feels almost frozen in time. Collectors carefully examine surfaces, edges, and color, searching for coins that look as close as possible to the day they left the mint. Another reason collectors remain fascinated by modern pennies is the possibility of minting errors and small variations. These can include off-center strikes, double details, or unusual surface characteristics. While not every 1990D penny has such features, the mere possibility keeps collectors searching through rolls and collections. It adds an element of treasure hunting, where patience and knowledge can turn an ordinary coin into something special. Some people wonder why a modern 1-cent coin deserves attention at all. The answer lies in perspective. Coins like the 1990D Lincoln cent are snapshots of everyday American life. They reflect economic decisions, artistic choices, and industrial processes of their era. For collectors, they also represent accessibility. You do not need to be wealthy to appreciate or collect them. They invite curiosity, learning, and a deeper appreciation for history hiding in plain sight. As years pass, the 1990D penny continues its quiet journey. Some remain in circulation, worn and overlooked. Others rest in albums, holders, and collections, carefully preserved by enthusiasts who understand their significance. Each one carries the same date, the same mint mark, and the same design, yet each has lived a different life. That individuality is part of what makes coin collecting so compelling. The United States of America 1990D mint mark 1-cent Lincoln penny may seem small, but its story is surprisingly large. It connects history, economics, design, and personal experience into a single object. Whether you are a seasoned collector or someone just beginning to look more closely at the change in your pocket, this coin invites you to slow down and appreciate the details. And for those rare examples that capture the highest interest, the value discussed today reaches $30 and 260 thousandths of a dollar. Today's story is about one such coin, the United States of America 1991 mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. This is not just a coin. It is a witness to its time, a symbol of American continuity, and in rare circumstances, a piece that can spark intense excitement among collectors and treasure hunters alike. In this video script, we are diving deep into the world of the 1991 Lincoln penny, exploring its background, its design, its mint marks, its historical setting, and the reasons why some examples rise far beyond everyday value. Stay with me until the very end, because the final revelation is what every collector listens for. The era of 1991 INAMRICA. To understand the 1991 Lincoln cent, we must first step back into the early 1990s. The United States was standing at a turning point. The Cold War had just ended, technology was beginning to accelerate, and American society was shifting toward a new digital age. Music, culture, politics, and economics were all evolving, and coins minted during this period became silent witnesses to these changes. The penny struck in 1991 circulated during a time when most Americans never imagined their spare change would someday be scrutinized under magnifying glasses and auction lights. The U.S. Mint was focused on producing reliable coinage for daily commerce, not on creating future rarities. Yet history has a way of surprising us. The Lincoln cent legacy. The Lincoln cent itself carries a legacy that stretches far before 1991. First introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, it became the first circulating U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure. Over the decades, the design evolved slightly, but its spirit remained unchanged. By 1991, the Lincoln Memorial still dominated the reverse side, representing unity, strength, and remembrance. This design had been in use since the late 1950s and had become deeply familiar to generations of Americans. The obverse continued to show Lincoln's calm and thoughtful profile, a reminder of leadership, endurance, and national identity. Design details that matter. At first glance, the 1991 Lincoln cent looks just like millions of others. But collectors know that details matter. The sharpness of Lincoln's profile, the clarity of the lettering, and the overall strike quality can transform an ordinary coin into something extraordinary. On the front, Lincoln faces to the right, with inscriptions declaring liberty and the national motto. The date sits quietly beneath him, marking the year this coin entered the world. On the back, the Lincoln Memorial stands tall, with its fine lines and architectural detail. In well-preserved examples, you can even see the tiny seated statue of Lincoln within the memorial itself, a detail often lost on worn coins. The importance of mint marks. One of the most fascinating aspects of the 1991 penny lies in its mint mark. Mint marks tell us where a coin was produced, and different mints can produce coins with subtle variations. Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco each played a role in American coinage, and collectors often study mint marks closely when determining desirability and rarity. In 1991, the majority of Lincoln cents were struck for everyday circulation. That makes finding an exceptional example even more thrilling. When a coin survives decades of use with minimal wear, or when it shows unusual characteristics, it becomes a subject of intense interest. Why condition changes everything. Condition is everything in the world of coin collecting. A penny that spent years bouncing around in pockets, drawers, and vending machines will show scratches, dull surfaces, and softened details. These coins remain historical, but they are common. On the other hand, a 1991 Lincoln cent that was carefully preserved, perhaps set aside shortly after minting, can look almost as fresh as the day it was struck. Brilliant surfaces, strong luster, and crisp details elevate a coin into a completely different category. Collectors search tirelessly for such examples, knowing that perfection is rare and fleeting. Errors, varieties, and collector excitement. Another reason the 1991 penny attracts attention is the possibility of mint errors and varieties. Errors can occur during striking, planchet preparation, or alignment. While most coins are produced flawlessly, a small number escape the mint with unusual features. These errors can include double details, off-center strikes, or other unexpected characteristics that make a coin stand out. For collectors, these variations are thrilling. They represent moments when the massive machinery of the U.S. Mint produced something slightly different, something unique. When such a coin appears on the market, excitement builds quickly. Stories spread through collector communities, and suddenly a humble penny becomes the center of attention. The emotional side of coin collecting is not just about money. It is about curiosity, patience, and discovery. Many collectors remember the first time they realized a simple coin could hold extraordinary value. The 1991 Lincoln cent often plays that role for modern collectors because it feels so familiar. Finding potential value in something so ordinary creates a powerful emotional connection. It reminds us that history is not always locked away in museums. Sometimes, it is right there in your hand. The market and perceived worth. The perceived worth of a coin is shaped by rarity, demand, condition, and story. The 1991 Lincoln penny, when found in exceptional circumstances, can rise far beyond face value. Collectors are willing to pay significant amounts for coins that combine pristine condition with desirable characteristics. Auctions, private sales, and collector networks all play a role in determining what a coin is worth at any given time. Values can change as new discoveries are made and as interest grows. This dynamic nature is part of what makes coin collecting so endlessly fascinating. Why this penny still matters today. Decades after it was minted, the 1991 Lincoln cent continues to capture attention. It represents a bridge between the past and the present, between everyday life and hidden treasure. In a world increasingly dominated by digital transactions, physical coins feel more meaningful than ever. This penny reminds us that even in modern times, tangible objects carry stories and surprises. It encourages people to slow down, to look closely, and to ask questions. What year is this coin? Where was it made? What has it seen? Final thoughts and revelation. As we reach the end of this journey, remember that the true magic of the 1991 Lincoln cent lies not only in its potential worth, but in the curiosity it inspires. It invites us to look again at what we think we know. It challenges the assumption that value is always obvious. For collectors, historians, and dreamers alike. This coin stands as proof that even the smallest denomination can carry immense significance. And in the rarest and most remarkable cases, the value attributed to such a penny has reached a level that continues to amaze and inspire.